You're listening to Health Coach Conversations, a podcast where our conversations help health coaches all around the world to level up our businesses and to get more clients.
Hello and welcome to this week's Inner Circle Weekly. I'm Ashley Pappas, and before we get into this, if anybody has any questions, just go ahead and type them into the Q&A or the chat box, and I will answer them. Let's see. So this week, I was going to talk about using your Inner Circle membership to flesh out your customer journey and also kind of reiterate the importance of knowing who your ideal client is and how that plays into creating your customer journey and really getting clear on exactly how you're showing up in your business and the path that you are creating for your audience, for your clients to create income online, because that's why we're here, right? So if you've taken and if you have not taken Building Abundance or Online Marketing Mastery, I very, very strongly encourage you to do so. It is something that is going to make all of the difference in your business. But something that is explored in both Online Marketing Mastery and Building Abundance is nailing down who your ideal client is, figuring out what your niche is, and really, really getting clear on that. Because a lot of coaches, a lot of wellness professionals really shy away from getting super specific with an ideal client because of the fear of excluding people, because we all are here because we want to change lives. We want to help people, and doing it online gives us the ability to do it at a much larger level to help multiple people, many more people than we would be able to if we were just doing it in a brick and mortar establishment, just without the internet as a resource as well. And when it comes to narrowing down an ideal client, that one specific person that we're talking to when we're sending out our emails, when we're writing our sales pages, when we're sending out our newsletters, when we're doing anything, whether it's on social media, whether it's in our email marketing, whether it's in choosing which programs to offer, it can create a big internal conflict. Like, okay, well, if I'm just thinking about one person, how am I serving all of these other people that I want to help? And the thing is that just allows you to be specific. It allows you to create an experience that is going to make your customers feel like you're in their house with them, holding their hand every step of the way, versus something where you're trying to be very broad and talk to everybody and serve everybody. And it's going to feel more like an experience where it's a watered down glass of powdered lemonade. If you're Target or Walmart, you can get away with that. You know, their advertising, it's not super specific. It's not something that's custom tailored to an ideal client, but they probably still have, their ideal clients for their different departments or what have you. You're still going to speak to the people that need to hear you, and you're still going to get the people that aren't your ideal client buying your programs. It's just for the consistency. It's just for the clarity, and that's where we're getting into today. When you have a specific ideal client in mind, when you have created that and you figured that out, it is going to make your work way easier. It's going to take out all of that second guessing on, okay, where do I need to start with? What's the first thing I should have people do when they want to work with me? What opt-in should I use? What program should I offer? How should I make this? What order should I put the stuff in? Because you've got an ideal client, and you can say, okay, what does this person need? What's causing them pain right now? And then you can ask yourself, okay, so, my ideal client, their biggest pain right now might be that they have this idea that they can't waste food, and so they're their family's garbage disposal. And on top of that, the foods that they're eating are, the foods that she's eating are very processed. She's not getting a whole lot of vitamins in her diet. And, so this ideal client has these things, and her biggest pain point as she sees it is that she's always sick, and she's starting to have signs of metabolic syndrome. She's pre-diabetic. She's always tired, and she's always stressed out, and she's snapping at her kids, or she's snapping at the people at her work. And so to her, she might not even realize that it has anything to do with the actual type of food she's eating. For her, she might think that it's just that, she can't lose weight, or that she might be premenopause. She might think that the cause of her pain is something that isn't really where it's at. But you know that because you know your ideal client. And so you know how to present your programs, you know what's going to help her, and you know how to say it in a way that she'll understand, but you'll still be able to help her start that journey. And you'll be able to choose, okay, I have all of these resources, it's not uncommon to get stuck in analysis paralysis, trying to figure out, what opt-in should I offer? Having the oh my gosh, I can't speak today. Having the inner circle membership, you've already got access to different lead magnets here. Now, if you've got like the platinum package, then you've got additional lead magnets. And having all of those as choices can be a little overwhelming if you don't have a specific person in mind, because you might be like, okay, well, I really like this one, and you might want to run with it just because you like it, but maybe it might not serve your ideal client. But when you have that one person in mind, you know where that person needs to start. What's going to get them to take the action of putting their email in on your landing page to get the resource. And so, if I'm just going to call her the person I just made up, I'm just going to call her Susie for today. So let's say that Susie's your ideal client, and you're trying to figure out, you're starting from nothing. You just decided to go online, and you're trying to figure out how should I attract Susie? So you're not going to probably want to use the Healthy from Home coloring book, because that's not really going to solve much of her pain point. And sure, Susie probably has a lot of inflammation going on, but she probably has no idea. So that wouldn't be a good one. She doesn't know that any of it has to do with her eating. But she knows that she's always crabby, and she knows that, she's got these things going on, and the metabolic syndrome and all those other things. So you could look at that and say, okay, well, maybe the self-care ebook, or maybe you want to find something that's a little more custom tailored to Susie. So if you were on Inner Circle Weekly, I think last month I showed you how to make a blog post into an opt-in. And so you could just go through all of these resources and say, okay, like, what is the thing that's going to get her, that's really going to emotionally ignite her to take action? And, obesity might be off-putting to her. And so you just go through here, and let me just find one that I think would be appealing to Susie. And you know what? Just for the sake of simplicity, not to overcomplicate it, I'm just going to go with the self-care ebook. And however, from what I've told you about Susie, calling it a self-care ebook might not be the thing that gets her hiney in motion, right? And so I would think you want to think about, like, what if Susie is on the phone with her friend, What is she going to say when she complains about the state, about her pain points? Like, how is that verbiage going to sound? What does she perceive as being her problem? Because your ideal client's problem and the actual problem often aren't going to be the same thing. And that's why they need you. That's why your person needs you. And so you're going to take that verbiage and, okay, so I can guarantee that the Susie that I just made up, she's not going to be on the phone with her girlfriend saying like, hey, my life is just really rough right now because I need self-care, because that's not what she's going to be seeing as her pain point. So, think about the words that she uses and come up with a different name, tweak the cover, and there you go. Because I know that the self-care ebook in here, that the material that it goes over are things that definitely could give Susie a quick win. And that's what you want to look for when you're choosing an opt-in offer. You want to find something that is going to give your ideal client a quick win. You don't want them to be occupied for the next 2 months of their life, because that's what your offerings are for. That's what your paid offerings are for. You want to give them a win so they know that you are the one who can help them. And so I'd choose the self-care ebook, I'd rebrand it, rename it. And I'm on the spot right now, so I can't think of a snazzy name for it. But again, it would just be something taking it back to what verbiage Susie uses. And then from there, so that's going to be the entry point. That's going to be, okay, when Susie sees, and when she's online, when she's on Google, when she's, wherever you're putting this out, wherever you're choosing to market, that's where she's going to enter your world. That's where she's going to join your list. And so you've got that entry point. And so once she's joined your list, you've got to think about, okay, what's next? And that's something that you always want to be asking yourself with everything in your business, because what's very easy to do is to just take clumps of spaghetti and throw it at the wall. Like, say, okay, I'm going to use this opt-in. I like this opt-in. I'm going to use this, but here are a couple programs that I'm going to offer, and I'm just going to throw them out there, and I'm just going to put them in my newsletters and let the chips fall where they may. The problem with that is that it usually doesn't come with many results, because it doesn't have any intention, and it's not really it's not clear to your audience where they need to be going. And like I was talking about, when you look at all of the different ways that you could choose to have your opt-in, different opt-in offers that you could have just alone in the inner circle membership, it's easy to get kind of frozen and like, okay, well, what am I supposed to decide? And since you've got this ideal client in mind, since you know who your ideal client is, you know what their next step is. It's not, okay, well, this would be this person's next step, but these people might need to go here and those people might need to go there. You don't need to worry about that. You can always have a couple, side offerings that are on your site, or you might spotlight occasionally, but you're just looking at Susie. And when you do that, you're going to attract many other people in the process. But this is for your clarity. This is for your congruency and consistency. And so we know how to get Susie's attention, right? We got it with the self-care ebook that we renamed to something else that actually was a little more emotionally triggering to her, to get her to take action. So we've got that entry point now. And so she's opted in. And once she's opted in, okay, what next? Well, if you've got an opt-in set up, then you've got an email delivering the opt-in. So there's the initial delivery email. But then you need to ask yourself, with Susie, she might be somebody who she'll go straight to her email and download it. But she might be somebody that you might have to set it so it will resend to her if she doesn't open it or click the link to download it. And so you might want to have a couple follow-up emails to remind Susie to download it. It completely depends on who your ideal client is. For the sake of simplicity, Susie is the type that will eagerly go to her inbox and download it right away. And so you've got the delivery email. But after that, you've got to remember that Susie just met you. She's got this tool now that's going to give her a quick win, but you need to develop the relationship. And so you want to have a few emails going out to let Susie know what to expect. Like, I call it a welcome sequence. You can have an email that says like who you are and what you're about and what your mission statement is. And make sure to be talking to Susie and talking to her in a way that makes her feel like she's actually important to you. And the way that you talk is going to be, when you're just talking to Susie, it's going to sound a lot different than if you're trying to talk to the entire state of New York. Because you're not going to be using broad generalizations. You're going to be saying, I understand that your doctor's visit was jarring, and I'm here for you, and I can help you, start to kind of get a grip and regain control, take the reins back in your life, versus, using something super generic that is going to include everyone but appeal to none. And so you'll want to flesh out, a series of emails that are going to go out when Susie joins your list. And so you'll want to welcome her. You'll want to let her know what to expect. How often are you going to email her? What are you going to email her? What are you not going to email her? I'm a big fan of having one of the emails within it give Susie an option to click to get off of the list, because you only want the people on your list who really want to be there. Otherwise, it's going to hurt the delivery rates of your emails. So, it's not, you don't want to hide your unsubscribe. You want to make it easy, because the people on your list are going to want to be on your list. They are going to get excited when they see your name popping in their inbox. And so these emails, you just want to start the relationship, and you want to have something to offer. It can be a low dollar, this isn't the time to step right up with your $3,000 offer necessarily. But think about, what is Susie's next step? If Susie's the type that she just wants to dive in head first and do a huge commitment, then maybe you will want to lead with your $3,000 offer. But for example, let's say that Susie, this is new to her. Like, let's say her ego's a little bruised because she was in complete denial that her health was getting where it was. And maybe her first step's going to be something like the 12-day detox, something to just kind of clear the slate. And this is where you will go, because with your membership, you got access to some cool programs, and you'll want to see what you have. You want to see what you chose. And with that, you'll want to look and say, okay, out of these, where is Susie's first step? What is the thing that is going to start her on her journey to feeling better? Afraid that she's going to have to learn to live with type 2 diabetes. What's going to get her out of that metabolic syndrome range? And so you'll want to look at what you have to offer and say, okay, what fits where she needs to go. And so, like, let's say that it's the 12-day detox. And I've talked about this before, and how you can run the programs like a million different ways. It's what fits. And so you need to look at it and say, okay, like the 12-day detox, you're either running it to where people can just buy it on demand and start right away, or you've got specific start dates. And so look at that. Say, okay, what's going to serve Susie the best? Is it going to serve her the best if she's going to let's say that you've got groups starting once a month. Is it going to serve her best if she's going to wait a couple weeks to start? Is there something that maybe the people that have to wait to start, there's maybe, a couple like opt-in type materials that you can give them to start making some kind of headway? Or is it going to serve her best to like start tomorrow? And that's something that you just need to figure out with you and your ideal clients. So like with Susie, she's got the fire lit under her rear end right now. Like she's devastated by her doctor's visits. She is, she's ready to take some action and she's ready to take it now. And she's the type of person that if that fire burns out, we don't know when it's going to be ignited again. So we want to get her going on something right away because, Susie's the type that when she's ready to take action, she's ready to take action. But she has to take that action within, she's one of those people that if it goes more than a week, then it's a lost cause. And this is going to be completely different for your ideal client, or it could be the same. But this is why it's important to know who your ideal client is. And so looking at her, the 12-day detox right away. I'm going to start right away. And so in those welcome emails, you might want to have something that alludes to it. You might want to have something that says, okay, you're extra special for joining my list. And I know that this is really important to you. And I know that it's important to you right now. So if you start, if you take this action right now and you start the 12-day detox, like I'll give you this bonus material. I'll give you like this bonus. Like I think everybody might have the 12-month program. So just maybe grab a few pages from that and make something that is going to benefit Susie greatly. And so like, hey, if you get this, if you take this action right now, I know this is important to you. I know that you don't want to ever have a doctor's appointment go like that again. Or I know that you never want to experience leaving the doctor's office like that again. Or, however you would say it to your ideal client. I know you don't ever want to be like, feel like that again. So if you take action right now, I'll also include this, and this is going to help you like through X, Y, and Z. But you want to have a way for people to start with you right away. And you want to look at your ideal client. So like with Susie, she opts in. She gets the emails and has this special offer to start the 12-day detox right away. And to top that off, like if she buys it within 48 hours of the last email or the second to last email or whatever, on top of it, she'll get a bonus. And so you've got Susie going through the detox now. And you want to look at, okay, so Susie's clearing the slate. She's doing the detox. And when you're when you're setting up your program, you want to look at, okay, so Susie's going to go through this detox. What is she going to need to do after that? What is she going to need after she clears that slate? And something else to keep in mind is, okay, while Susie's going through the detox, are there going to be any points that trip her up? Are there going to be any points that are really difficult for her that you might need to, maybe you might need to stretch out the 12-day detox and make it into a 21-day detox, or a 24-day detox to where instead of getting daily materials, she's getting it every other day and she's implementing one day's material for 2 days instead of just one. And this, how you're going to best serve it, your ideal client, because that one person. And so, like, if you're following me here, having that one ideal client is going to help you flesh everything out because you're going to be serving them. And by doing that, you're going to get not only the Susies of the world, you're going to get the Jillians, you're going to get the Michaels, you're going to get people that you're also very, very the one to help, very much the one to help. But knowing who Susie is, knowing what Susie needs, gives you the clarity to build it out for her. And it's going to make it very easy, because when you're saying, like, okay, I'm going to have this, I'm going to just choose an opt-in that I think will be beneficial to most of my audience. Okay. Or maybe I'll have like 5 zillion opt-ins. And okay, so after that, I'm just going to give them a whole buffet to choose from. So I'm just going to throw all of my programs out there and say, like, here, choose what's best for you. They're going to get paralyzed. They're not going to know what to do. They're not going to feel like you know them. Because if I know as a consumer, if I have a pain point, if I have a problem and I am looking for help, the person I'm going to work with, even if I'm just doing something like one of their evergreen offerings, I want to feel like they know exactly what I need. They know what my next step needs to be, because that's why they're looking for help. Because if they knew what they needed, then they would be doing it themselves. And so knowing who your ideal client is imperative in being able to create this journey and being able to make them feel and help them know that you are the one to help them with that pain point. You are the one who is best equipped to help them through this journey and guide them through it. And so with Susie, going back to the 12-day detox, as she starts to get towards the end of it, and let's say that we, just for example, let's say that we had to turn it into the 24-day detox because Susie needed 2 days per day. And so at day, towards the end of the 24-day detox, what is Susie going to need next? Now that she has that clear slate, let's see. Let's say that, natural health immersion is going to be the thing that is going to best suit her. Or maybe it's more, maybe you look at Susie and you say, okay, you know what? She's making all of these choices. Like she's not throwing away her kids' food because she's eating it because she doesn't want to waste it. And she's not getting the exercise that she needs. And she's eating the wrong things that are unhealthy and not nourishing because of, like, maybe there are things that something like the lighter life would be better suited for. And again, a prime example on why it's so important to know who your ideal client is, because the solution's going to be completely different for the individual that your ideal client is. Because somebody could be, battling the metabolic syndrome and have prediabetes and have all this stuff going on. And it could be something that one program could help, but somebody next to them could be going through the exact same thing. And that same program would absolutely not be the solution for them. And so, like in Susie's case, NHI is what's going to really get her on the right track. It's going to help her feel confident in her health journey, in feeling like a free, wonderful being that is exuding health. And so you figure out how you're going to create that bridge from the detox to NHI. Again, speaking to her in her own words, saying, okay, you've done this great work and this is what, this is where you're at now. Like, you've already done this, like, how cool, but you still have this much to go. Like, you still have a ways to go. So why don't you come with me and I will take you through the rest of the journey. And this is going to give you the knowledge, the ability, and the confidence to really cement these changes in for the rest of your life. To really make this so we don't ever have to go back to where you were when you opted in for the self-care ebook that was named something else. So I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. It's It's not something that excludes anyone. It's not something that is going to alienate. I'm going to tell you just straight up that I have a freakishly large male following, and I have not marketed to men in over 8 years, maybe 9 years. It was since I stopped personal training in gyms that I completely cut men out of my marketing. And so you are not going to be excluding anyone. It's a way to pre-qualify. It's a way to more effectively help the people that you're best suited to help at a larger level. Because if you know who your ideal client is, then you're going to know this one person. You're going to know their specific pain points. You're going to know their living situation, their household dynamic. You're going to know their occupational contributing factors. You're going to know what their hobbies are. You're going to know what they're afraid of, or what they want, or what their dreams are. And you're going to be able to serve them at a level that is impossible when you're trying to make it broad and adaptable to everyone. Because I don't think that any of us are trying to be Walmart here. And when we try to go too broad, when we're not trying to have our ideal client in mind when we're writing our emails and stepping into our business, then essentially we're trying to be Walmart. And I don't think any of us want that. So I'm going to check really quick and see if anybody had any questions or comments or anything. And I know that this was a lot, but it's something that I can't drive in enough, that it's so important to know who that one ideal person is, because it's going to be natural. It is completely normal to want to pull back and go broad. But when you've got that specific one individual in mind, it might be somebody that you physically know. It could be somebody that you've created in your mind, or it could be you, like a previous version of you. And any of those are okay. It's just, you want to have that one specific thing. And I know that I sound like a broken record with this, but it's just that important. And you're never going to put any of like the sensitive things that you've created with your ideal client. You're never going to put that on your website. You're never going to put that in your marketing, but it's going to help you in terms of conversating and really connecting with your ideal client. So it's not like you're going to put something on your website that says like, hey, if you're not a 44-year-old woman who is, on her second marriage with 2 kids and a dog and a cat and a Subaru and living in a 3 or 4 bedroom house, who's on the PTA and works a corporate job at this company, then this isn't the site for you. You're never going to do that. So there's no reason to be afraid to really get specific. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about today is the niche. Getting specific with a niche does not mean that you're never going to venture out of that box. It doesn't mean that you're pigeonholed for the rest of your life or that you've married it. It just means that you've made the commitment to have a clear plan of action, to have a clear specialty, to have a clear focus. It means that when you close your eyes and you picture yourself where your business wants to be, and let's say you win an award for your business, what is that for? What are you known for? Like, what are you the go-to person for? Because it can be really easy to say that, and chances are, if you haven't really gotten down and specific with a niche, then you probably know in your body and your bones and your heart what that is. It's just getting that out and getting that on paper. And so you want to think about, okay, like when somebody, like, again, going to two people talking on the phone, if somebody's talking about a pain point that they have, let's say the person on the other end of the phone is recommending you. Well, what are they recommending you for? What are you the go-to person for? And then also when you think about your niche, you should think about, okay, where does your expertise lie? Does that, write down everything that you're an expert in? And then cross out every single thing that does not, that you are not insanely passionate about. Like there's a whole process for honing in on your niche. And again, if you haven't taken Building Abundance or Online Marketing Mastery, I very, very much recommend that you do, because we go through the entire process in that. But figuring out your niche, like if you've got a specialty, if there's something that, well, let's come up with an example. Let's stick with Susie. Let's say that you look at your specialties and, you know what, I'm going to change Susie. We're going to work with Tammy. We're going to use Tammy for this one. And see, thinking of people makes this a lot easier, because now the fictitious person is me, because I'm coming up with a niche. Okay, so let's say that I work with postmenopausal. My niche is postmenopause. Let's see. I want to be more specific than that. Raw foods. And I want to throw one more in. Inflammation. Here we go. Okay, so like a niche, let's, for example, say that my niche is managing inflammation in postmenopause through raw foods. Very specialized. Or let's say that, let's get rid of the inflammation. Let's say that I really like inflammation, but I'm not going to use that in my niche. Like I want to be known as the raw foods postmenopausal go-to. Like if you're postmenopausal and you are looking to switch to a raw food diet, like I'm your person. And that being said, my ideal client, they suffer from inflammation. If that's something that's going to help, but I'm not going to necessarily use that as my niche. There might be 18 other things that I know could be a niche topic, could be my niche, but they're not things that are necessarily going to be the niche. They're going to be things that are incorporated that, there are going to be, it's going to be a part of, it's going to be another facet of, but in terms of niche, I'm focusing on serving that people through the postmenopausal raw foods. And so when you choose a niche, it doesn't mean that you're excluding everything else. It means that you're choosing what you are going to be the go-to for. It's choosing what your expertise is. And the other things that you're passionate about, the other things that go into it. Because let's be honest, like any area of health and wellness, there are just so many other factors that go into it that just grabbing one thing and saying like, this is all you really need isn't necessarily going to fit the bill. You still have to have, the other areas into it, but it's just not your niche. It's just not the one specialty. And hold on, there's a question. You spoke to having different products that you offer in intentional order for your ideal client. Okay. Does the same ideology apply if you have a membership that you meet with on a regular basis? You would have the year's content mapped out. Absolutely. Absolutely. So with the membership, you would absolutely look at that journey. And with the membership, it's a little different because it's not going to be necessarily the same path, because I'm assuming that the membership people can join it So I think, were you going to, with your membership, were you going to make it that people could join anytime, or that it was just always open and they could always join? Because if you've got it to where people are only able to join like 1, 2, 3, 4 times a year, you could have like a little, okay, trying to make it join anytime, but maybe open several times a year. So there are a lot of different ways that you can go about this, but you do want to think about, okay, you want to think about the ideal client and the journey. And in terms of the order, if they are, and I think I know it's you've got, it's a back end membership. So they're going to be doing a program before going to the membership. Is that right? Not necessarily. Okay. So in terms of figuring that out, honestly, the best way to do that is to really, really tap into your ideal client and figure out what's going to serve them the best and how it would need to look for them to get the results they need to be valuable. And so, there are lots of different ways to do it. So if they're just hopping directly into the membership, you might have to where, oh, nice, the community's turning out to be a great place to jump into a membership from. Then that's perfect. In terms of the membership, because the membership's revolving, there are things that are always going to be beneficial to your ideal client. And so instead of it being like on an escalation scale to where like they're taking one step up to another step up to another step and everything builds upon each other, those steps are just going to be something that they're going to be more modular, if that makes sense. And so like, whereas if you're taking them from one program to another program to another program, then the way that you fashion that, you'd look at your ideal client and like figure that out. But then, with the programs, you'd want to do it to where, okay, like you would want to do this before getting to this one, to the next program. And so like, it would just be like each next one, the prerequisite program before that. Whereas with the membership, it wouldn't be like that. So you might have something to where when people join your membership, there might be something that you have as part of the membership that they go through for, 7, 14 days, whatever, maybe you could do it that way. But basically, regardless, you're going to have an onboarding process of some sort. And so everybody's starting point, even though everybody in the membership is getting access to the same stuff at the same time, the people who are in the onboarding process, there might be something there that might be like the precursor to the rest of the membership content, that like, okay, they're also getting this while they're going through this membership, if that makes sense. Or they're learning how to use, like just learning how to navigate the membership could be it. Okay, you're thinking of doing the first year membership more fluid and then starting rolling them into specific programs in year 2. Okay. So it's more of a front end membership. And I'm assuming that the specific programs are the specific programs going to be something that they all go through, like everybody in the membership gets at the same time? Or is it going to be something where it's like an upsell to where people who are part of the membership either are the only ones who can get into that program at that time, or they get like, I don't know, some people do just like they get half off if they're a member to programs and whatnot. So, okay, get clear on specific needs and they can group off. Perfect. Yeah. And I know that with your niche and who you serve, you would just need to look at who your ideal client is and think of that person and just figure out, like in a membership platform, what's going to serve her the best. And then as you offer enroll them into the programs, just think about, how is this going to be most beneficial to the ideal client? And so it's a little different, but a lot of the concepts and principles are exactly the same. It's just that when you're taking people through specific programs, and it could even be a membership setting, it's more of like, okay, it's like English 1, English 2, English 3, English 4. You've got to take them in consecutive order. And with a membership, since that model, the model that you're using is one that is going to be revolving, or I don't want to say revolving, it sounds like people are leaving, but it's continuously flowing. You'll want to have things that, like I said, are modular and deepening, yes. But you want to make it so it's modular. So like if you've got information or if you've got stuff for them that they're getting let's say in August, you want to make sure that there's nothing that they would have needed before that, or like stuff that they're getting in August, they can go, like, let's say people now go through in August. Well, the person coming in March, are they going to be okay going through March's material if they hadn't gone through the August material? And it's fine. It's absolutely fine if the answer is like, no, they wouldn't be able to go through March's material. Then you just have to figure out how to make that little bridge, how to make that onboarding so that they can get up to speed to where the other members are. But this is actually a really, really great example of why it's important to know who your ideal client is, because when you look at this, you can look at their specific needs. And I know with your offerings, like modular will be fine, and having them roll off into programs will absolutely serve your ideal client well. Alrighty, so if there are any other questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace. I don't want to hop into anything else too lengthy because we would be here for like a whole nother hour. Okay. Well, if you think of any questions or if you need anything, definitely reach out to support. And next week, Amanda will be taking over Inner Circle Weekly, and I will be back in 2 weeks. And if there's something specific you want to talk about in 2 weeks, send me an email at support@thehealthcoachgroup.com and let me know. Have a great week. I hope you guys, if you're in the US, I hope you had a great 4th of July, and take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you liked what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating or review on iTunes.